Assalamu alaikum and welcome everyone. You're listening to the English deep dive of the discussion held with Dr. Maqsood ul Hassan Azeemi. That was on the 24th of October, 2025.
And Dr. Saab, well, he really set the stage right from the beginning, didn't he? He gave us a very specific focus for this kind of spiritual work.
He absolutely did. He started with this instruction, almost a mission statement. He said, paraphrasing here, before we start, know this. Meditation, muraqabah, is contemplation and sitting with yourself.
If you cannot sit with yourself, what remains? I mean, that's quite a powerful opening question.
It really is. He continued, in muraqabah, think. This is not me, but my guide. If the guide were here, what would they think? On what subject should we focus our contemplation? And then, let's start.
So right away, it's clear this isn't about passive listening. It's about active engagement, deep self-reflection, and, using the highest ideal as your benchmark during that reflection.
Exactly. It's tailored for the serious learner, as he put it. And from there, he immediately jumped into some foundational concepts, starting with, well, what it actually means to be human.
Yeah, the definition itself is quite revealing. Dr. Saab explained that the word insane actually means one who forgets, or even the innocent one, implying this inherent tendency towards, let's say, spiritual amnesia.
So our very label points to a core challenge.
Yeah.
And he broke down this idea of humanity into sort of three tiers, right?
That's right. He talked about Adam, who represents the kind of ideal spiritual prototype. Then there's insane, the everyday human, the one who forgets. And finally, Haywan, which is the purely animalistic nature or level.
And the goal then isn't just to exist as insane, but to strive for something higher.
Precisely. To achieve Insaaniyat, which is true, realized humanity. And Dr. Saab's definition here is crucial. Insaaniyat is achieved when you consciously use your intellect, your zayn, to rise above that basic animalistic nature, the Haywaniyat.
Okay, so it's about engaging the mind purposefully. Unlike animals.
Exactly. Animals, they react based on instinct. They don't generally use abstract thought to build complex societies, design tools from scratch, or plan long-term shelters in the way humans do. Dr. Saab emphasized that using this capacity for organized thought, for creation, for planning that is engaging in Insaaniyat, it's a mental and volitional step up.
Right. So if we are fundamentally insane, the ones who forget, what exactly is it that we're forgetting? He was very specific about this.
Very specific. He listed 4 absolutely crucial things that humans tend to forget. First, our spiritual inheritance, what we're entitled to spiritually.
Okay.
Second, our direct, intrinsic connection to Allah, to the divine. Third, that we are, in essence, the nukhazat, the point of existence, sort of the focal point or mirror of creation.
Wow, okay. The point of existence.
And fourth, related to that we inherently reflect the capacities, the potential of Allah's attributes. We have these divine sparks, these capabilities within us.
That's a lot to forget.
Yeah.
And it's not just a passive lapse of memory, is it? He mentioned a serious consequence.
A very severe one. He quoted the Qur'an. Nisiya kalkahuwa ksimun mubin, which translates roughly as, he forgets his own creation and becomes an open adversary.
An adversary. That sounds quite extreme.
It does, but Dr. Saab added a really important layer of meaning to the word Khaseem, the adversary part. He explained it's not just about disagreeing or opposing.
No.
It means actively nurturing enmity, deliberately living in a state of negativity. And this is key, actually broadcasting those negative vibes, that antagonistic energy, out into the world.
So the internal forgetting manifests as external conflict and negativity. That makes sense.
Yeah, it's like forgetting your nature leads you to actively work against the harmony of the system. And this idea of internal state affecting the external connects directly to the next concept Dr. Saab tackled. Khashiyat-e-Rehman.
Right, which we usually hear translated as awe or fear of Allah, often linked to, being emotional weeping.
Exactly. And Dr. Saab was quite firm in saying that interpretation, while maybe having some truth, is really insufficient. It misses the core operational meaning.
So what is the deeper definition he offered? How should we understand Khashiyat?
He defined it as ehsas, which means a deep feeling, a realization, a profound comprehension.
Okay, realization of what?
Realization of the why and the how of creation. Khashiyat-e-Rehman is the feeling, the dawning comprehension of the purposefulness, the intricate logic, the sheer meaningfulness behind the entire system that Allah, as our Rehman, the most gracious, has set up.
Ah, so it's less about passive emotion and more about active intellectual and spiritual appreciation of the system's design and purpose.
Precisely. It's about understanding Ruhaniyat, that quality of all-encompassing grace and compassion that underpins everything. And Dr. Saab pointed out that achieving this kind of realization isn't just an intellectual exercise. It requires activating and using higher-level, more intuitive senses.
Senses beyond our normal 5 physical ones.
Yes, the subtle senses that can perceive these deeper realities, these attributes like Ruhaniyat. And when a seeker manages to do this, to achieve this asis, the result, the reward mentioned in the Qur'an is huge.
What's that reward?
It's described as Idraak bil Hawas, which means comprehension through these activated higher senses. And this leads to Maghfiratan, which he interpreted not just as forgiveness, but as an expanded mind, an opening of intellectual capacity, and Ajrin Kareem, a supremely generous, noble reward.
So grasping the system's purpose literally expands your mind and brings immense spiritual benefit. It's a very active cognitive process.
Absolutely. It frames spiritual development as something deeply intertwined with understanding and cognition, which leads us nicely into how Dr. Saab discussed the structure of the Quran itself. He mentioned it having 3 main sections.
Okay. The first one seems straightforward enough. Ibadat, which is worship, and Mu'asharat, societal laws and interactions.
Right, the rules for daily life and devotion. The second section, though, he termed Tariq, history, but his definition was quite specific.
How so? Not just a list of past events.
No, not just a chronology. He described it as the story of humanity's fikri irka, our collective evolution of thought, our mental and spiritual journey, starting from Adam all the way to Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him.
An evolution of thought, culminating somewhere specific.
Yes, culminating at what he called Muqam-e-Mahmud. And this, again, isn't just a physical place.
Right, you mentioned this earlier with Kashat. It's more like a state of being.
Exactly. Dr. Saab defined Muqam-e-Mahmud as the state where human intellect reaches its peak potential and enters the zone of Wajdaan.
Wajdaan. What does that entail?
Wajdaan implies intuitive realization, a state where you don't just understand things intellectually, but you intuitively grasp their true worth, their qadr qimat. It's the highest level of development, appreciating the reality of things directly.
Okay, so worship laws, history as thought evolution, culminating in intuitive realization. What's the third section?
This is where it gets really interesting and perhaps controversial. The third section is Maad. This is the chapter dealing with essentially the science of the soul, life before birth, life after death, the whole spiritual framework.
And why is it controversial?
Because Dr. Saab noted, and he attributed this insight to his own Murshad, Khwaja Shamsuddin Azeemi, that this section, Maad, was largely removed, or let's say, hidden from general public understanding over time.
Hidden. Like deliberately obscured. That sounds like, well, a missing piece of the puzzle. What kind of information is in Maad?
It details the actual mechanics of the spiritual journey. Things like our pre-existence, the spiritual blueprint or plan for our lives, the whole system. Dr. Saab used analogies like conveyor belts, gears, magnetic fields, and time. The spiritual engineering, basically, that brings a soul into this physical world and governs its journey.
Wow. So it's literally the physics of the spiritual realm.
That's a good way to put it. He explicitly called this knowledge spiritual science. It deals with understanding the soul's consciousness, the shuru, recognizing the inherent energy, the capabilities, the potential that Allah has placed within each soul.
And why bring this supposedly hidden knowledge forward now?
Dr. Saab's reasoning was that we're now in a scientific age. People's minds are more open to understanding complex systems, non-visible forces, and structured knowledge. The time is right, he argued, to present this spiritual knowledge as a science.
Which means it needs to be approached scientifically,
Awesome.
systematically.
Absolutely. He was very clear on this. Treat it like any other science. Systematically organized and arranged knowledge. His practical advice was direct. Take notes, connect the concepts, actively think about what you're learning.
Don't just passively absorb it.
Right. The goal is to actually utilize the capabilities this knowledge unlocks. Just hearing about it isn't enough. You have to engage with it, work with it, integrate it. It's about application.
That makes perfect sense. You need the theory, the ilm, but then you need the practice. This brings us to another really practical, almost physics-based discussion he had, comparing music and usury, or sood.
Yes, that was a very insightful comparison, grounding seemingly abstract concepts in the nature of waves. He started by stating a fundamental principle. The entire universe is based on waves. Everything is vibration.
Okay, a common idea in both physics and spirituality. How did he connect it?
He said music, at its core, is simply the organized use of sound waves. It's patterned vibration. And he pointed to the Quranic reference of Prophet Daud, or David, peace be upon him.
The inventor of musical instruments, known for his beautiful voice.
Exactly. Dr. Saab highlighted the description of the Lahn-e-Daudi, the melody of David, being so powerful, so harmonically organized, that it could reportedly stop flowing water and cause flying birds to pause mid-air.
Demonstrating the potent effect of well-structured sound waves.
Precisely. So organized sound has this acknowledged power, even referenced positively. This led him to a critical question. Given this, why has there historically been such a strong, sometimes prohibitive, focus on music in some interpretations?
When something else, usury or sood, is explicitly and very strongly forbidden in the Quran.
Right. He really pushed the listener to think. What is actually being sold when someone charges interest, when usury occurs? There's no tangible product or physical service directly corresponding to the interest itself.
Usually the justification is based on the time the money is lent out.
Exactly. And that's the crux of Dr. Saab's argument. Since the payment, the interest, is calculated based on time, the commodity being traded, being sold, is time itself.
Okay, I see where this is going.
He then connected this directly to the profound Hadith Qudsi. Do not abuse time, for time is Allah, la tabassasu sadar falahu dar.
So if time is, in essence, a manifestation or domain of Allah, then selling time through usury is like
attempting to commercialize the divine domain. You're trying to profit from something that fundamentally belongs to Allah. That's the core transgression, the deep imbalance it creates.
and the severity of that action.
Dr. Saab pointed out that the Quran describes engaging in usury as being in a state of war with Allah and His Messenger. He used this to illustrate the sheer magnitude of this prohibition compared to the debates often surrounding music.
It puts things in perspective. What's the takeaway for a spiritual seeker then?
Balance. Avoid extremism. Dr. Saab emphasized that a true faker, a genuine spiritual seeker, shouldn't get caught up in simplistic labels of good or bad regarding things like sound waves. Instead, they should look at the underlying reality, the haqiqat, and strive for balance, because extremism always disrupts the system's harmony.
Maintaining balance within the system, which relates to how the system itself came into being. Let's talk about kun fayakun.
Right, the divine command, be and it is. Dr. Saab contrasted the somewhat condensed biblical phrase, God said light, and there was light, with the more detailed mechanical process implied in the Quranic kun fayakun.
It's not instantaneous magic, but a sequence.
Yes, he described it as a three-stage unfolding, initiated by the divine essence, the Zat. It's like a cosmic program executing.
Okay, what's the first stage?
First, there was the irada, the divine intention or will. The very moment of intention, Dr. Saab explained, created zamaniyat, time itself came into being with the intention to create.
Fascinating. Time born from intention. What's next?
Second, the defining of that intention, giving it parameters, form, a blueprint. This he called the Kado Call. And the act of defining the intention, outlining its boundaries, created Makan space.
So intention creates time. Defining the intention creates space. And the third step.
The third step is the command kun, meaning be, or, as Dr. Saab also interpreted it, move. This command initiated harkat movement.
Movement. So that's the fundamental action.
Yes. According to this explanation, harkat, movement or vibration, is the fundamental building block of all creation. Everything we perceive, everything that exists, is a result of that initial divine command setting things in motion.
And this relates to his point about light and darkness, too.
It does. He clarified that light isn't just the visible spectrum. It's this vast ocean of waves, visible and invisible radio waves, cosmic rays, everything. Darkness, then, isn't the absence of waves or movement.
It's just waves vibrating at frequencies outside our limited human range of perception.
Exactly. It's still part of the harkat, just not one we typically register visually, which logically leads to the question, what is the source of all this intention and movement? What is Zat?
How did Dr. Saab define the divine essence, Zat?
He defines Zat as essentially the ultimate collection of countless potential movements and also the very entity that gives birth to countless movements. It is both the potential and the source of the kinetic unfolding. Creation, therefore, is the ongoing manifestation of Zat initiating harkat.
It's a very dynamic view of existence. Everything is movement stemming from this ultimate source. How does this connect back to us, to our practical life? He talked about ilm, knowledge, didn't he?
Yes, he made a very direct statement. Everything in the cosmos is ilm knowledge, including things we might not typically categorize that way, like health and sickness.
Health and sickness are forms of knowledge. How does that work?
He explains sickness as simply the system in this case, the body operating incorrectly, functioning based on flawed information or a lack of correct ilm, a lack of alignment with the proper operational knowledge of the system.
So if you're truly connected to the source, to Allah, who embodies perfect ilm and is beyond these malfunctions,
Then theoretically you can also begin to transcend these ailments by aligning yourself with that higher correct knowledge, that perfect operational state. It implies health is our natural state when aligned with divine knowledge.
that's a profound implication. And it sets up his very practical advice on how to use the mind, the Zehen, effectively. He gave 2 core instructions.
Yes, very practical rules for mental discipline. The first one was striking: do not chew on problems. The Urdu phrase was masail ki jugali na karain.
Like a cow chewing cud,
Yeah.
going over and over the same problem mentally.
Don't mentally regurgitate the issue endlessly. His advice was stark. Focus exclusively on the solution, the how. Why? Because the mind manifests what it focuses on. If you dwell on the problem, you amplify the problem. If you focus on the solution.
You start to manifest the solution. Okay, that makes sense. What was the second piece of advice?
Focus entirely on the task, come at hand, and completely ignore the resources. Wasel.
Ignore the resources. That sounds counterintuitive.
Yeah.
Don't we need resources to do things? Money, support, tools.
Of course, pragmatically, we often do. But Dr. Saab's point was about the mental focus. If you fixate on lacking resources, I can't do this because I don't have enough money, or I need X before I can start, your mind creates limitations. You become bound by the perceived lack of a sale.
So focusing on the lack actually prevents the resources from appearing.
In a way, yes. Or it prevents you from seeing alternative paths. He suggested that many successful endeavors happen when people focus purely on achieving the calm, the task itself, with unwavering concentration, trusting that the necessary means, the harkat needed, will somehow manifest or be found through the process. The focus is on the what, not the how, initially.
That requires a lot of trust in the system, in the flow of harkat. And this ties into how he redefined hard work, Manan.
It does. He pointed out that menat comes from the root mahan, which is also related to the word imtihan, meaning an exam or a test.
Ah, okay. So Manan isn't just about putting in long hours.
Not necessarily. True menat, he explained, is the focused effort required specifically to pass the exam or achieve the defined target. It's about quality and direction of effort, not just quantity.
So working hard for 12 hours, but not actually moving towards the goal, isn't real menat in this sense.
Exactly. It might be tiring, it might be lengthy, but if it's unfocused or ineffective in achieving the objective, it doesn't qualify as menat. It's just expended energy, potentially wasted effort.
This really emphasizes the importance of clarity and focus. And it relates to the 2 levels of understanding he discussed, Idraak and Wajdaan.
Right. He differentiated them clearly. Idraak is the initial stage. It's intellectual understanding, comprehension, grasping the information, processing the data.
Getting the concept.
Yes, but Wajdaan is a higher stage. The root word, waj, means to find or to obtain. So Wajdaan is when the understanding becomes so deep, so complete, that you don't just comprehend the idea, you find the reality of it, you obtain it.
It moves from the head to the core of your being. An intuitive grasp.
That's a good way to put it. It's intuitive realization. You've found the truth of the matter within yourself, moving beyond just academic knowledge into a state of direct knowing, of having obtained that reality.
And for those who cultivate this level of focus and reach Wajdaan, is there a further practice, something beyond the standard meditation or muraqabah?
Yes, he introduced what sounds like a very advanced practice, Kashf-ul-Manam. He described it as the deep dive into sleep.
Consciously diving into sleep. What does that mean?
It implies achieving such a high degree of conscious control over your own mind and senses that you can voluntarily enter the depths of the sleep state, manam, while retaining full consciousness.
Wow. So you're asleep but also fully aware.
Apparently so. It's about accessing the movements and realities of the self, the soul, that normally only surface uncontrolled in dreams, but doing so with full awareness and volition. He gave the example of Prophet Ibrahim's vision about sacrificing his son, peace be upon them both, which occurred in such a state, a conscious experience within the realm of manam.
That sounds like the ultimate integration of the conscious and subconscious, the waking and sleeping realities.
It certainly represents a very high level of spiritual mastery and self-awareness. It brings together all the threads, focus, understanding the system, controlling the mind, accessing deeper knowledge.
Absolutely. Looking back, this whole discussion from Dr. Saab provides such a comprehensive framework, starting from acknowledging our forgetfulness, understanding the true meaning of awe as realization, grasping the Qur'an's structure and the hidden science of Maad, seeing the physics behind creation and even morality in the case of usury, and finally, these practical rules for mastering focus, effort, and consciousness. It's quite a roadmap.
It really is. It systematically builds a case for spirituality as a science, a discipline requiring rigorous thought, focused effort, manat, and deep realization, Wajdaan. And if we loop back to his statement that in the cosmos, everything is ilm, knowledge.
Right, that everything we see and experience is a manifestation of divine knowledge, of a system operating according to specific principles.
Then it leaves us, and you, the listener, with a pretty profound question to consider. If everything around you and within you is fundamentally ilm, what specific knowledge are you consciously choosing to study, focus your manat on, and strive to realize, Wajdaan, in your own daily life? What ilm are you actively engaging with?
That's a powerful thought to end on. A big thank you, Aapka Bahut Shukriya, to all of you listening for giving us your time today.
Ye discussion yakanin aapke liye faydamand sabat hoji. We really hope this deep dive proves beneficial for you.
Kindly is video ka forward Kareen, apne dostin kojo, Ruhaniyat or Silsila Azeemi ke baraye ma puchte rehte hain. Please do share this recording with friends who might be interested in spirituality or the Silsila-e-Azeemiya.
Aapko forward karna se YouTube is video ko zyada logon takut pochanchega. Your sharing helps the platform algorithms reach more people who might be seeking this kind of knowledge.
Subscribe karden abhi tak nahi kiya apne or a like. Please subscribe if you haven't yet, and a like always helps too.
Aapke liye bhi bahut dua. We send many prayers and good wishes your way.
Allah Hafiz to all. Goodbye, everyone.